Welcome to the future. The place you go when you say, here's to bigger profits, better business, brighter prospects, and a bottom line that just won't quit. Think big. Big tax advantages, big business opportunities, big profits. And the hottest Fortune 500 industries in the world are taking advantage of them. Which means whether you're looking to relocate, expand, or conquer the known universe with your own special vision of the capitalist's dream, they can help make it happen.
Please welcome Creator of Air Force Base, General Kevin Chilton.
It's nice to be here in Colorado Springs for this great gathering. I think it's fitting that we're here in Colorado because I think it was, I know it was 25 years ago when the first commander of Air Force Space Command stood up the flag here, General James Hardinger. He said that Colorado Springs would become the nation's military space capital, and indeed it has.
In Colorado Springs, you will find a different kind of base of both direct military and military contractors approaching 1/3 of the entire population. And when you think about it, that is a big number.
The industrialists are now saying, we're not going to make cars anymore. We're not going to make clothes in America anymore. We're not going to make this and that in America anymore. We're going to make weapons.
This is our space tracking surveillance system, and this is a more advanced version of a missile detection satellite to detect, track, and discriminate missiles in flight. So this finds them, somebody else shoots them down.
Here at Lockheed Martin, we have all kinds of cool stuff.
We're working on some of the world's most important and spectacular technologies, and we're the best in the world at what we do.
While most U.S. industries struggle to endure a recession, the weaponization of space still feeds thriving corporations with contracts.
Here on our right, we see one of the new guys in town, SI International. Companies that are growing very quickly that no one has heard of before, such as L3 Communications, Sparta. These are names that are not familiar names to people, and yet they are the new strong players in military contractors. You have the Aerospace Corporation on your right. You have Mitre Corporation on your left. As we cross over here, you will see a Lockheed Martin plant. Now here to our right is Northrop Grumman. Northrop Grumman has always been a big contractor, but a couple of years ago, it bought out TRW Corporation. And so now it is one of the biggest military contractors in the world. This is the kind of new growth we are seeing in Colorado Springs.
Out of every tax dollar in the United States today, 50 cents out of every single tax dollar goes to the Pentagon. For past wars, for current wars, for future wars. We are being made into a warrior culture, if you will.
Nearly 750,000 remarkable individuals serving their country, and they all believe they have the best job in the world.
How cool is it to be able to go home at night and tell your kids that you fly satellites at geosynchronous orbit? That is great stuff. How cool is it to know that you operate the most powerful radars in the planet and surveil the heavens, that you operate telescopes that are critical to national defense? How cool is it to tell people that you are responsible for maintaining nuclear missiles on alert for the defense of this country? This is a cool business that we are in.
Join us. America's Air Force. No one comes close.
This is our larger laboratory, and off to this side we have freshmen or first-year cadets working on components of our FalconSat 5 satellite that we're in the process of designing, and we'll be testing those at Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico.
Since I was a kid, I've been fascinated with aviation and space exploration. So after high school, I started looking at colleges, and the Air Force looked really cool because I could learn about space technology and satellite design. So the Air Force Academy was just the natural choice.
Freeze it!
Freeze it!
Pops!
Space. Look at number 4.
Right there.
Earth 4.
Okay.
Awesome. We're at the Air Force Starbase La Luz Academy at Kirtland Air Force Base, and we've got students working on a engineering piece of software to design a space station. So if they were trying to present their model to somebody to buy or to be excited about.
Oh, that's cool.
There are all kinds of stories across the country now where young people in their schools are being indoctrinated at very young ages in this warrior culture and in new space technology.
Each year, over 50,000 children are educated in space technology at military bases in most states across the U.S. The Pentagon takes a long-term view, seeking to enlist generations of youth in richly subsidized aerospace careers.
It's extremely important for us to have students learning about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. As our workforce continues to age, we need to make sure that we have young people in the pipeline that are interested in filling those career slots that our current scientists and engineers are in.
I would argue there is no better time than today for us all to commit to a future of excellence and leadership fueled by the next generation of our airmen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready today. With our great industry partners, with you at our side, we'll be ready for tomorrow. God bless you, and thank you very much.
The Pentagon has said that moving the arms race into space will be the largest industrial project in the history of the planet Earth. They can't take any chances. They have to have an enemy. They have to make the people afraid. Someone's going to attack us with nuclear weapons. We've got to have missile defense in order to protect us from attack. Iraq, one of the rogue states, Iran, North Korea, and now they throw China into that equation.
Wait a minute. What about the Chinese threat? Didn't China, like the U.S., show that it can destroy orbiting satellites? Isn't China trying to gain military superiority in space?
The threat to our space security is real.
Kind of an electronic Pearl Harbor that could only be aimed at the United States.
There are individuals who are hyping the Chinese threat, saying that it's imminent, that it's aggressive, that they plan to launch a preemptive, massive attack on U.S. space systems in the Pacific, which they call a space Pearl Harbor. And they often look for these stories, these sensational stories in newspapers or tabloids, and these publications tend not to be very reliable. For example, this Parasite satellite story, where a Hong Kong tabloid published a bit of information it got off of a Chinese website, and then this made it into U.S. Pentagon reports to Congress. And nobody ever bothered to figure out if this original Chinese website source was credible or not. And as it turns out, the person who was posting this, it was on his personal web page, his sort of own personal blog. And he was really just sort of making it up. And if you look at all of the other things on his site, which include things like pictures of, scantily clad women and sensational photographs of secret weapon systems, he's clearly not a credible source of information. they didn't bother to trace the information to its source, which took us about 6 hours to do.
For the last 3 years, the Pentagon has been trying to make China the new boogeyman, and China unwittingly played into the United States' hands with its anti-satellite test.
At the time, I was at a conference in Colorado Springs, and the military officers in the room actually left to watch the test in real time. So they were observing the actual Chinese anti-satellite test.
We know about every space launch. We know about every rocket launch. We have reconnaissance and surveillance satellites that can detect all these. We detected the Chinese test, for example, and in fact, we detected the 2 previous Chinese tests that failed. So we know about this. It's extremely difficult to hide space tests. They're one of the most observable weapons tests you can possibly imagine.
What was the point of China's display of destruction?
The reason is simple. They want to give you a signal, a warning. So, the warning must be known by the other side.
In effect, the Chinese were saying, okay, you want to be dominant in space? You deal with us.
China intended to alert the world to U.S. plans for military dominance of space. And China warned, it will confront that ambition. It is able and willing to destroy U.S. weapons in space.
We wouldn't really want to see, in the future, an Earth surrounded by an outer layer of weapons, which will make mankind even more vulnerable than the situation today.
China offered a preview of the deadly contest that would start if the U.S. positions weapons in space. How close is that risk?
The U.S. military is developing what the Air Force in particular has called prompt global strike. That is basically, currently we have nuclear missiles that could strike anywhere on Earth within 30 minutes. What the military is talking about is a similar conventional capability that could be used to knock out, say, a Chinese anti-satellite weapons launcher in a matter of minutes. A number of concepts are being studied with this notion of prompt global strike. One is a orbiting space plane that would have the capability to be able to maneuver and also to fire weapons at a much faster pace than is currently the case. Another is a space satellite that would actually have missiles on it that could be fired from space and reach a target in literally 5 to 10 minutes as opposed to the current 30 minutes.
We're talking about a satellite system called Rods from God, which can put heavy tungsten metal rods from satellites onto the Earth to penetrate bunkers. All that's being developed. We've spent billions of dollars on research on these weapons, and a number of these weapons are getting ready for testing.
Were they deployed in orbit, global strike systems could hit 100 targets on Earth at once, at nearly 7,000 miles an hour. They wouldn't be weapons of mass destruction, as defined in UN resolutions, but the destructive impact of a rod from God would match that of a nuclear warhead.
Satellites can identify a target through overhead imagery, process communications about the target between military decision makers, and then guide a bomb precisely enough to destroy the target with one shot. Would it really be that big a step if a projectile itself were also launched from space? There's no practical difference, and I'd venture to say that the person on the receiving end wouldn't see the distinction either.